I am recording, so
Oh my gosh. Dang it. Well, no cold open for us. I forgot to hit record.
that's all right. You can just like splice it in up front with no explanation and then do the intro music and then go right
That's
into
exactly
the
what's going to happen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kellie.
How are you feeling, Kellie? We took a little 2-day hiatus, very long break.
That's long for us. I'm doing great. I am feeling rested, energized, ready to talk about video games.
That's good because there's a lot to talk about.
There is.
Yeah, we this month we're going to be releasing on Thursdays, except for a very special holiday that we'll be releasing on Monday. So look forward to that. But how about we just get right into it, Kellie?
Let's get into it. Let's dive in.
Definitely objectively the biggest news in the industry, because just based on pure numbers, my volume's all the way up, is the release of the teaser trailer for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This came out late last week. We kind of told you about this because they did announce it was coming. So we got to see some Bowser. We got to see some penguins. We got to see the Mushroom Kingdom a little bit. We got to hear Toad. We got to hear Bowser. We heard Kamek. We heard Mario. All right, Kellie, give me your impressions. What did you think of this trailer?
I thought the trailer was fun. I think it looks like the movie itself looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Very gorgeously animated, which I was kind of expecting. But Jack Black sounds great. I think you probably hear him the most in this trailer as Bowser. I thought it seemed very true to its source material, and then I kind of heard Mario, and I didn't know it was Mario at first. People on Twitter say that Chris Pratt's Mario voice sounds a lot like Linda Belcher from Bob's Burgers, for those who are familiar. And
yeah, it's 1-to-1.
And it is. It really is. You could have told me that was who was voicing Mario, and I 100% would have believed you. But I think my biggest takeaway was that it looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Very pleasing to the eye, and I think that it might be difficult to get over Chris Pratt's very interesting creative choices, but I think it might be worth it just to watch the movie. And I'm very excited to hear more of Luigi. But yeah, what were your thoughts, Andrew?
Very similar. I'm gonna be honest, because I had a lot of pessimism about this movie going in, and then we saw that teaser poster, and I was like, you know what, that looks kind of interesting. And then, barring Chris Pratt's voice, I really liked this trailer. I thought it was very cute. I thought Jack Black was knocking it out of the park as Bowser. I think Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, he's pitched up, so he just sounds like Toad. So it's like not a weird voice on him. I really like the style mostly. Mario's face is like a little weird, but like it's fine. He's still Mario, you know? It's not like they changed him to be like a dude. I do hate Chris Pratt's voice in this because it's just Chris Pratt with like a very slight Italian accent. And I'm just annoyed because I'm like, he all those interviews, we talked about them on the show where he was like, I'm going to transform Mario as you know him. You will hear something you've never heard before. Me and the director worked countless hours on this. And then what? He just walked in the studio and talked. So my big fear is that he's going to sound like he's phoning it in, you know, because I don't care if it sounds like Chris Pratt, if he sounds excited and happy. But in this, he just sounds like Chris Pratt talking, you know, there's no excitement behind the voice. And Mario's such an excited character. So
yeah.
But my impressions are overall positive. This does kind of go into what we talked about with teaser trailers that I guess I understand what a teaser is now. Because I was like, I wanted more. This was not a real trailer. I wanted to see a lot more. I really like the Bowser in the Ice Kingdom scene, but I feel like I wanted to hear the characters talk to each other more. I definitely feel like Luigi should have been in it more. And I definitely think we should have seen Peach, who we have seen thanks to some leaked imagery on the internet. And I think she's very cute. She's probably my favorite redesign because Bowser's not redesigned, really. He's like more detailed, but he just looks like Bowser. But Mario, Peach, and Luigi do look a bit different, and I think Peach is the cutest of the three. So,
yeah.
I'm now excited to see this in theaters with you on April 7th. Like, I thought we were going to have to do it on the show as a meme, but now I'm like, I just want to see it.
Yeah, it still might be a little memey, but...
Yeah.
Meme, that's like how old people say the word meme.
Yeah.
Something that is not a meme is the launch of Overwatch 2, which was last week.
That's kind of a meme. It's been kind of a meme.
I guess it has been. And why it's a meme is because the launch was an absolute failure. Blizzard and their client, Battle.net or whatever, the server that Blizzard uses, was apparently on the day of launch hit by some major DDoS attacks, which basically just mean that the server just gets like boom, 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 bombarded with stuff so that it can't do anything. A lot of people, everybody who tried to play encountered at least some issues. I did not even touch it on launch day because I didn't want... I knew I was going to have to wait in long queues. It was also, on launch, it required, when you sign in or when you log in or when you create an account, you have to enter a phone number. But for some reason, Blizzard was just like not really thinking, which like, are we surprised at this point? But
on brand.
They would not accept prepaid phone plans. So like Cricket is a prepaid phone plan, like a pay as you go, one of those that you like get at the Target or whatever, or anywhere really. They just weren't accepting prepaid phone plans. But so that was causing a lot of issues for a lot of people, because a lot of people do have prepaid phone plans, and that's not unusual, and that's not unremarkable, or no, that's not remarkable. So it's a very big oversight. Overwatch 1 players did not need to input their number because their accounts already existed. And mostly everything could be sort of merged over. But there were a lot of reports of people, losing certain things when they merged their accounts to the second game, losing skins, which is in this game, in Overwatch 2, losing a skin is going to cost you a lot. Not being able to play certain heroes, even though if you played Overwatch 1, they were all supposed to be available on launch. So just a very, very messy launch. I will say I think it has calmed down as the week has passed. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I played a little bit today, and I really had no issue logging on. I had no issue getting into games. So obviously the problems have been ameliorated, but it was not great for a launch.
Yeah, it feels like because this is like a transitionary game where they're like, this isn't a sequel, it's more like a big update, but they put the 2 on to create more buzz and like bring in new players, which I get. But for a game like that, you wouldn't expect this many problems, It'd be like if like Fortnite, when Fortnite's like Fortnite Chapter 3 or whatever they're on. They make a huge number of changes, probably almost equivalent to the number of changes made in Overwatch 2. But there's no lapse in like service, there's no challenge in getting in. That's why I'm so confused. Like, it's the same basis. Why are they struggling so much? And maybe it is just that like, one, the DDoS attacks, which, are bad. I'm not going to be glad that a company I hate got DDoS because that's just bad. But also maybe just like way more players than they anticipated. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like the situation. I just feel bad. Like, especially because, like, people who have prepaid phone plans, some people do it because that's what they can afford. And it's really not reasonable to be like, well, then you can't play Overwatch 2. If you can't afford, a traditional phone plan, you can't afford Overwatch 2. And it's like, it's supposed to be free.
Yeah.
Just because you're scared about people bullying? You're bullying people by doing that.
Yeah.
Blizzard.
Whoa. You tell him, Andrew.
Yeah. But you know who the biggest bully in the video game industry is?
Who?
Elle Fanning.
True.
She's well known as being a gigantic bully only in the video game space. She goes to league tournaments and she just like gives the league players wedgies. No, Elle Fanning is a well-known actress in Hollywood. And now it has been teased from Kojima Productions that she is going to be in his next game. We don't know what that is. It's probably Death Stranding 2. We don't know what that is, but Elle Fanning's going to be a part of it. We also got a tease of another person, but we don't know who they are yet, so we'll probably be back to talk about that in a week or 2 or 3. I'm really excited. You're in it?
Yeah.
It is an Asian woman.
Oh, not me.
Okay. But maybe you're the next one.
Yeah.
I'm excited, though. I really like Elle Fanning. I think she's incredibly talented. And putting her in a Kojima game seems like a fun combo. Because I really like the people that were in. Like, I feel like Lea Seydoux and like Margaret Qualley did such a good job in Death Stranding, despite anybody's opinions of the game. So seeing Elle Fanning, I'm pumped. I'm
excited for you. It's a cool way to sort of reveal someone in your game, because it was teased for a little while. But
yeah, I hope that she and Kojima become just as buddy-buddy as Kojima and Norman Reedus, because that would be funny imagery.
Yeah. He has a very interesting collection of friends.
Yeah. Really good friends with like Mads Mikkelsen and Del Toro and Norman Reedus, which like take out the relations to the Kojima products, should not be a crew of people you'd expect to roll together.
Definitely not. Some more announcements happened. Much to many people's surprise, I think. CD Projekt Red announced 8 new projects. So a new Witcher trilogy, 2 spin-offs, a new IP, which is codenamed right now, and then a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. This was announced in a summit thing, but it's all in a tweet. Mostly everything is codenamed right now. So The Witcher is like Sirius, Canis Major. They're all like stars. They're named after stars. But the new IP is the most interesting to me. But something that I was shocked and surprised at was the Cyberpunk sequel. The game is successful. It has made a lot of money, so it's not unusual for it to get a sequel. And I think they are sort of building off a lot of the hype that's around it right now, just because of the show, the Netflix series, and also a lot of people are just rejoining the game because of the Netflix series and the big patches and the new expansion. So
can I read the description of Orion, the sequel to Cyberpunk, and see if it gets you excited?
Yes.
Well, I'll get it right this time. Cyberpunk 2077 sequel that will prove the full power and potential of the Cyberpunk universe. Which, if we trust them, if we think that CDPR has truly learned from their enormous blunders, that's a very exciting description.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I think that all of this is exciting. I think it's very interesting that they are working on a new IP also.
Yeah. I kind of like the way they announced this, because if you think about like the way Cyberpunk 2077 was announced with that cinematic trailer, and then there was just this years of like weird hype cycle, I almost feel like just a text block of like, hey guys, here's everything we're working on for full transparency, so you don't have to worry about what's coming next. I kind of like that, you know? With some studios, I just feel like this might be the healthiest way to announce it and keep the hype reasonable.
Definitely.
So, related to this, I just wanted to, on a big plate, serve a giant meal, and the meal is my words. I'm going to eat my words. I continued watching Edge Runners finally. I know several weeks ago when it came out, I watched the first episode and said, nah, didn't like it. I heard a lot of hubbub, and I decided, okay, I'll give it another episode. I still don't like the first episode, but I do very much like the series. I watched it, and I liked it a lot. And I think the studio deserves a lot of credit. I think it was basically the best like visual realization of a lot of cyberpunk elements, especially like hacking and stuff, which I thought was visually underwhelming in Cyberpunk. Looked really cool in Edge Runners, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was incredibly well written, well acted, well animated. Um, Again, I feel like they didn't put their best foot forward on the first episode. So if you listened to me and said, "No, I'm not going to watch the show," sorry. Listen to me again. Try the first 2 episodes and see if you like it. It's really cool. Kelly?
I'm glad you enjoyed it upon more viewing.
Yeah, thank you. Do you know what you enjoy?
What do I enjoy?
Babylon's Fall. You've said it many times.
I did. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Babylon's Fall, very well-known live service game by Platinum and Square Enix, came out March of this year, got played by like, I don't know, 35 people. That's kind of an exaggeration. It was more like 6 concurrent players. That's not even a joke. And they announced recently, as we talked about and made fun of, that the service will come to an end in February of 2023. Well, finally, CEO Atsushi Inaba has commented, and he says that he's extremely sorry for the disappointment that this may have caused to fans. And this might sound like a good thing, but he also followed up by saying that the plans that they have for future live service games are unchanged, which is really, really bad. That means that they are keeping on that concerning sounding path that we got from a few years ago, or a few months ago. And I don't like that because, like, Babylon's Fall failed. Bayonetta 3 looks pretty much slated to succeed. Stop making live service games. Your single player games work.
Yeah.
It's bad news. Bad news.
It's sad when a creator or developer has to be like, "I'm sorry."
You should never have to say sorry for like, not like a bug or like, like a bad launch or something. Just, I'm sorry for this game.
It's just sad. It's sad for everybody who worked on it. It's sad for the 9 people who played it, and it's sad for
6.
Oh, sorry, the 6 people who played it, and it's sad for the studio. It's like, you could make a better game, but you didn't, and now it's going to be your focus still. It doesn't quite make sense. They could remake it.
Remake Babylon's Fall? Oh, this is a transition. Yeah, remake Babylon's Fall.
Yeah, just like EA has decided to remake Dead Space, which we have got a big long trailer for that released last week, and an release date, which is very exciting. So the trailer kind of goes over. I mean, if you've played Dead Space. God, I can't talk.
Dead Space.
It's like the scary Halloween Spice Girl.
Or Australian Dead Space.
Yeah. It kind of goes through just showing off what looks better about the game now, which obviously the game has sort of been remade from the ground up, so it all looks a lot better, and a lot scarier. I don't like Dead Space. It's very... I cannot say the word space. I keep saying space.
Space.
Anyway, it releases on January 27th next year, so we have a few months to go yet, but it says pretty soon, actually.
So we haven't seen this game yet. I was surprised that this is the first time we've seen it, especially with that January release.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be honest. I feel like Callisto Protocol, which is like essentially a Dead Space game, looks better. Not that this looks bad, but I feel like Callisto Protocol looks like a more contemporary take on the formula with like some interesting changes, and this is just a remake of Dead Space, which is not a problem. But, you know, if I'm paying $70 for a game, I feel like I'd rather play the like hot and new Callisto Protocol and not a remake of something I could play for free. That's still like Dead Space is not a bad looking game at all. The original.
Do you think it's going to be like a full 70?
Yeah, it is.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh. Where does it say that?
On the pre-order page, I believe. Let me double check. I don't want to be misrepresenting Dead Space.
Pre-order.
Why is it so hard to hit pre-order? I clicked pre-order and it's taking me like, yeah, it's 70.
Yeah, that's a bit much for a remake.
It's 80 for the digital deluxe edition, unless you have EA Play, and that's 72.
You can
Anyway, yeah.
pay $10 extra for 3 unique suits and 2 suit textures.
Wow, that's insane.
Thanks, EA. Never change.
Something else very similar to Dead Space. Bloober Team.
Yeah, they are. Once you go over there in Poland,
Polish, yeah.
Poland, you
Because
become
I just opened the article and it says translate from Polish. So
space zombie. Bloober Team announced that their game, The Medium, which is a horror game, came out a few years ago, will become a television series. Not really sure where it's going to be released at. There's no confirmation of any sort of actual deal, but there is someone who produced The Witcher, the Netflix's Witcher. So maybe it'll be on Netflix. I mean, I feel like Netflix sort of picks up all the video game stuff now, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we saw it. But
I feel like this does prove that any video game is up for grabs to be turned into a TV show or movie right now, because I feel like The Medium kind of came and went with very little to do about it. So I'm surprised. This is probably one of the most surprising TV show adaptation announcements so far.
Is it just going to be like, what was that show with, I
don't know. I really don't know.
I forget what it was called.
I don't know. I don't know.
And I'm sorry I'm wasting time. I really want to
You're not wasting time.
I just want to find out what it is.
It is funny because like in the talk that in the like article, they actually reference the success of Cyberpunk and Arcane. So I feel like this will probably be animated, just because to mention those two very specific things instead of bringing up like The Witcher, which I guess is technically an adaptation of the book. I just feel like bringing those up. It's probably going to be a Netflix animated series if I had to put money on it.
The show is literally called Medium, and it was on NBC.
So you think this is just going to be that, but
maybe animated and maybe more based on the game.
On the game, The Medium. Yeah, we'll see. I played this game when it came out. Was that before or after the show started? That was during the show. Because it was how I tried Xbox streaming.
Oh, yeah.
That was when it wouldn't stream. It was garbage on the streaming, so I didn't actually play very much. It's coming to the PlayStation Plus premium plan, though, so maybe I'll give it another try.
Yeah. For some reason, I always got this one confused with Control.
It's like the same facial expression of the woman on the cover. Maybe that's it.
Probably.
And she's posing similar because they're both doing like this thing where they're like holding something.
Right.
Right? Oh, no. Control, she's holding a gun.
There is no discernible reason that I would get these games confused. So I appreciate you trying to justify my mania to the audience. But unfortunately, I just don't have all my marbles.
I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
shouldn't. I'm sure you playing that PSP was just really bad for your eyes and your brain. So
yeah, but here's some good news. One of my favorite PSP games, Persona 3 Portable, is coming to modern platforms on January 19th next year, including not just Persona 3 Portable, also Persona 4 Golden. This is very exciting to me because at that point, Persona 5 will also be on these platforms. I mean, they're already kind of... anyway, the point is, this is very exciting because it's very hard to play Persona 3 Portable, and now it won't be hard anymore. And I'm going to be playing it, and I'm excited to talk about it, even though it's an old game. It'll be new on January 19th, 2023. Sorry, I hate that mouth noise that I just made, and I made it, so...
I did it inaudible. Again. It's like inaudible on microphone, so you're really just in your own head here.
Okay. You're right.
I'm very excited about this. Partially because it's coming to Game Pass, so I don't have to pay.
Yeah. You know what would be cool would be like a physical, like...
collection.
Yeah. I just love when they acknowledge the female protagonist from Persona 3 Portable, and they've been acknowledging her a lot lately, and this is just confirmation that she is still an important character.
I mean, in like the key art that they made for this announcement, it has the Persona 4 protagonist on the left with his persona above him, Persona 5 protagonist with his persona above him, and then on the right is the female Persona 3 protagonist, and then the male one's just kind of like sitting on a desk nearby, not following the conventions, and I think that's very funny that they're like, nah, he's secondary. He's just going to sit on a desk.
Yeah, he's not important.
So I'll probably finally play Persona 3 on January 19th via Xbox Game Pass. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Another release that I am absolutely thrilled for, Need for Speed Unbound was announced. It is a new Need for Speed game, highly stylized, way more so than the previous games. Lots of graffiti effects. It's coming to PlayStation 5 and Series X, as well as PC on December 2nd. It's exciting that it's coming so soon since it was just announced. I think it looks really cool. I'm not excited for it, even though I said I was, but I still think it looks really cool. I like the cel-shaded art style that they have for the characters. It features ASAP Rocky, who is somebody that I know who that is. I know who that is.
He's a rapper. He is Rihanna's baby father. He's well respected in the fashion community. I guess it's good. I didn't know he was. I guess he's into cars. He raps about cars. So I agree with you. I think this looks really good. I think it has a really unique style for a game, like for a racing game. So I probably, like you, I probably won't play it, but I think it's cool that they have sort of gone in a different direction because the characters themselves are really stylized, but when you look at the cars, they're very realistic with some like fancy stylized rims and stuff. So
I think
cool.
The most exciting part is that they announced it so close to release because they just announced it and it's out in less than 2 months, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. Very, very neat. And as we approach December, as we approach the end of the year, it starts to be Game Awards time. And it was teased that we will see a new Crash Bandicoot game at this year's Game Awards, which are December 8th.
Don't you love hearing about an announcement 2 months before the show even is?
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that when you keep things quiet like this, obviously there's some like deals going on where it's like you need to tease your game before the Game Awards so people will watch the Game Awards and will, whatever. But I don't know. I guess I just wish that you could experience that sort of like organic, like, what's this trailer for? Oh my gosh, it's for this.
It's only Jeff shows that do that, though. I feel like...
I know, it's like a marketing thing. It's like he wants people to watch the show, so I'm sure he makes these deals with these companies to tease the game beforehand. It's just silly.
Money. It feels like it's very heavily monetary motivated, which, like, of course, all these shows are just big commercials. But, like, a PlayStation showcase or a Nintendo showcase or even an Xbox showcase is just like, yeah, we're going to show you games. If that's something you want to see, come watch. I'm sure there'll be something exciting. But Jeff is like, is he scared that if he doesn't specifically say what is going to be there, that nobody will show up? Because he doesn't have any surprises,
Yeah.
Even like Elden Ring was like kind of teased, and then freaking, what's his name, Ryan Reynolds, said that Elden Ring was going to be in the end of the show, which was terrible.
Yeah, who invited that guy?
I don't know. I don't like him. Am I allowed
wow.
to say that on the show?
Wow.
I don't like
wow.
Ryan Reynolds. Am I allowed to say that?
Oh my gosh.
But Kelly brought up Crash. I played a game. I played Crash 4.
Ooh.
But before we get to that, we have a very exciting word from our co-sponsor. You all know them. You all love them. Sentry. Well, today we have something a little different to tell you about because Sentry is doing something special this week. Pittsburgh's favorite regional Smash Ultimate tournament, The Gamble, returns to Washington, Pennsylvania on October 15th. This will be featuring a $300 pot bonus and stacked with great competition. You don't want to miss this. Trust me, I'm excited to be seeing it. Century Esports will be streaming the tournament live at twitch.tv/PGH Century. That is twitch.tv/PGH SENTRY. So be sure to follow so you know when they go live. We'll see you there on October 15th for The Gamble 3. This is the third one. $300 is like a lot of money for a local tournament like that. So I feel like the competition is going to be really exciting and like people will be in it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It'll be fun to watch.
It's going to be tense.
It's going to be tense. It's going to be, people are going to be crashing into each other.
Nice transition back into Crash. I played Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. I did it because of the news about Crash, and I was like, oh, I should play Crash 4. It's in my PlayStation Plus library. So I decided to play it. I thought the game was long. It's not long. Just my impressions, though. It is so beautiful to look at. The music specifically is really good at tapping into nostalgia, so you can enjoy like a new, fresh game with these kind of like hinted nostalgic melodies under everything, and I really like that. The animations were really incredible. Probably my only disappointment related to that is that some of the cutscenes are pre-rendered. So, you know, the real-time cutscenes look really good on PS5. They're in 4K, high resolution, high frame rate. But then when they get pre-rendered, they're like slightly lower frame rate and notably lower resolution. And I get that this game was on Switch too, so some cutscenes had to be pre-rendered. But it did disappoint me. I really like the gameplay. It feels a lot more polished to me than the remasters of the original trilogy. And the level designs obviously are a lot more exciting and modern because this game was made recently and not in the 90s. There are some frustrating mechanics involved. There are secondary playable characters beyond Crash and Coco, who are like the two central. And those side characters, they don't move exactly how you would hope, or at least how I would hope. And really the biggest offense is that sometimes they don't do what you'd expect. So it feels like your inputs don't do what they should all the time. There's one character, Dingo Dial, who has really cool, interesting mechanics, and I think he's the best of those side characters. But Tawna, and especially Neo Cortex, do not play how I would expect or how I'd want them to. So that was a disappointment, but alas, that's how it goes. Because Crash and Coco feel great, so it's not a big deal. It does feel to me kind of like the gameplay challenge here is more about learning the levels and less about understanding the gameplay mechanics that you have. So like you think of a game like Mario Odyssey or a game like Hat in Time, and the challenge more so is about learning those, as they call them, expressive platforming mechanics. So you kind of get to decide how you move and you learn those mechanics and how you can utilize those in the world. This game is not really that. It's very straightforward mechanics, and it's mostly about understanding the obstacles than actually understanding the mechanics. Some of the challenges are just going to be functionally impossible your first time or so, because you will just have to have seen what they do to you to win, you know? And that's something I kind of wish was in here more. Like, if you were good at the mechanics, you theoretically could pass any challenge first time you saw it. And I want to make it clear, I had a lot of negative thoughts here. It sounded like there was a lot of downsides, but I had a very fun time playing through this game. I ran straight through the story. I didn't do any of like the side stuff, and I didn't focus too much on like gems or collecting everything. And it took me 5 hours to get to the credits. I think the story was fun. It was silly and pretty much in the background, which is fine for a game like this. I don't think you need a deep story in Crash. But I'm glad I finally played this game. I used to love the originals as a kid, and I was honestly pretty disappointed with the remaster. It didn't feel right to me. So this feels like kind of a return to form in my mind. And now I'm excited to see what the new game is at that Game Awards reveal. I'm curious.
Crash Team Soccer. Or football.
Okay. I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say racing, and I'm like, we have that, Kelly. Another game I played, and I promised this one to the audience, and it's a little spooky. Cult of the Lamb. I loved this game. I think it melds a lot of very interesting mechanics. It's kind of like, you know the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. but like jack of all trades, pretty good at most trades, you know? Does that make sense? They're not
Yes.
they're not masters, but they're pretty good.
Yes.
I think the management, if you don't know what this game is, it is half roguelike combat and half managing a cult. So you'll be managing the members, making sure they're well fed, making sure they have somewhere to sleep, making sure they have somewhere to relieve themselves. And then you go to church and they worship you as you do a sermon. It's very fun, very unique. I've definitely not played anything like it. The management is kind of simple, but it is very fun. The progression starts pretty slow, and I think that's good because it's very satisfying and it gets you into it gradually so you don't get overwhelmed. But boy, oh boy, by the end, it is breakneck pace. It is incredibly fast. I even became overwhelmed at the end because I had so many followers. I had like 32 followers at once, and like trying to manage that many people was scary. And then like a sickness went through my cult, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't handle this. I need you guys to chop wood, but you're all sick. Outside of the management, the combat is very fun. It's very fast. I think while it's not the most polished thing in the world, especially if you've played things like Hades, it might feel a little more floaty. But I think that the real positive is that the weapons and powers, there's a lot of variety with them. It's random what weapon and power you go into a level with, so it kind of forces you to try new things. And I think that was good because like some weapons, like there's like an axe and a hammer that are really slow, and I probably wouldn't have picked them, but because the game forced me to try them, I ended up liking them the most. And that's something I really like. It's kind of like that Breath of the Wild weapon breaking mentality. People are mad at it because it's like, I want to do what I want to do, but it forces you to learn the cool things that you might have missed. And I think that's really on show here. For me, there's a normal difficulty mode, and that was a little too easy. But sadly, hard mode was a little too hard. And I feel like I wish there was a little more customization with that. They have 4 difficulty modes, but none of them kind of served what I wanted. Because with hard, I was losing a little too much, and with easy, I didn't lose at all. With normal, I didn't lose at all. But hey, I think this game's a lot faster than other roguelites because the upgrades that you get to your characters as you go through the management part of the game are really substantial. They enormously increase your power, so they make the runs a lot easier and a lot faster, particularly. And there's also 4 zones instead of one long roguelike run. So you have to do each zone to the boss, and then you'll have to do that a few times each, but you don't have to do the entire game in one run. It's split into parts, which I think is smart, keeps it from being overwhelming or too difficult. I really loved this game. I highly recommend it. It's available on PlayStation, PC, Switch. I played it on PS5. I had some stutters in my performance, so I do have concerns. If you want to play it on Switch, I think you should probably look into that first, because if my PS5 was struggling at points, that little baby Switch might have some deep breathing needed between sessions.
Yeah, it's interesting. You wouldn't think that a game like Cult of the Lamb would put so much stress on a system.
Yeah, all about that optimization, I guess. So
All about it.
So thank you to the team who made that. I should know that. I know it's published by Devolver. Am I a bad person for not knowing the developer of Cult of the Lamb?
No. I don't know.
Are you sure?
Either.
Well, yeah, I'm going to look, but why is the first thing that I saw, what is the gender of the Cult of the Lamb? Lamb. I don't care. You don't need a gender to be happy.
The lamb is a genderless being, which is why they're so easily worshipable.
I think that might be wrong, but still, sorry. Anyway, it's developed by Massive Monster. Sorry for that delay, and published by Devolver. Thank you, Massive Monster, for that wonderful product. Kelly.
Yes.
Still spooky season.
It is.
You know what that means.
It is. Before I touch upon as we continue my Resident Evil retrospective, I did want to talk a little bit about Overwatch 2 because I did play it, just to give some impressions. I haven't played it for very long. I will say the gameplay itself is very, very similar to Overwatch. Kind of like you were saying, I don't really get it. I don't know why they released it. I don't think it was necessary to release it now other than to build hype because there's no PvE, which is one of the biggest draws
Yeah.
of Overwatch 2. And it doesn't have PvE yet, as we know. It mechanically feels very similar to the first Overwatch game, but I think the next gen or current genness of it all is nice. PlayStation console players can finally play a version of the game that's not, 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things are important for FPS games, like frames and stuff like that. There is cross progression. I've been playing on PS5 just because it was easiest for me, but there is cross progression, so I'll probably log in on PC as well and try and get some games in just to get a good feel for it. I think the Battle Pass system is absolutely insanely absurd. I do understand it's a free-to-play game. I'm under no illusions that I wouldn't have to be paying for anything, but the free Battle Pass rewards are just they're just like nothing. They're nothing. And the premium ones are fine. But if you want to buy a skin, you have to pay a certain amount of coins, and you can't earn coins like you used to with no more loot boxes. Never thought I'd miss the day of loot boxes. So I just don't really know. I feel like they need to tweak the Battle Pass system because it's just so hard for new players to really get in, which should not be the case for a new game. Even though it's not really a new game, they're kind of marketing it as a new game. New players should not have such huge barriers to entry, including, and we talked about this last week, but including the locking the heroes. I will say I could not log into my old Battle.net account because I lost the email and I can't verify it anymore.
Yeah.
And I did not have, two-factor. My email was the only way of verifying my account. So I was not able to log into my old account, so I'm starting completely fresh. That means no skins, no gold guns, no rank, no nothing. I'm going into it as a brand new player. And it's just sort of abysmal the way that you can't play certain characters. It was very quick for me to unlock quite a few of them. I think I've unlocked like Genji and Hanzo and Diva and Cassidy, but it's not right. I don't agree with locking heroes. I think that's very peculiar. And I don't think that the new characters should be locked behind the Battle Pass either. So I was having fun. I did find myself having fun and sort of reminiscing on like early Overwatch days, like 2016, like summer of 2016 when I played it like every day. I was enjoying myself. And it just feels a little bit different because there are new players. That it is sort of alive again. Not saying that the original Overwatch was dead, but you try playing it in 2019 and it just wasn't. It didn't have the same energy that it had in 2016 or 2017. So
yeah,
that was fun. I'll probably play a little bit more. I don't know if it's going to be like a mainstay online game for me because I do also play a lot of Dead by Daylight and I just can't break away from that. It's a problem, but. So those
one feels a little less toxic.
Yeah, exactly. So those are sort of my thoughts on Overwatch 2. Another 2 game that I played to follow in my retrospective series. I played Resident Evil 2 remake. I am about 4.5 hours in. I've been playing as Claire. I am enjoying myself. I think this is a very interesting game in terms of like the setting itself. When you get into the game, it's very unique. You're in one building. I mean, Resident Evil 1 was like that too, but the building was not as interesting, shall we say. I think RPD is a really cool setting.
I mean, in my opinion, it is like arguably one of, if not the best singular video game location ever.
Yeah, I think it's iconic, and I think it is iconic for good reason. I I also thought that I'm playing the PS5 version, so I bought the disc version, the PS4 disc version, and got the free upgrade for the PS5 version. It's crisp, it's clean. I think it looks really good. I will also say something that surprised me, and maybe it's not surprising, but the sound design is like really, really incredible. I think the zombies sound menacing and scary, and even in the late game when you have faced, however many zombies and you're like trudging through sewer water and there are like giant monsters trying to kill you, the sound of the zombies is still enough for me to be like, ugh.
Yeah.
I think the sound of Mr. X's footsteps is like haunting. When you're in that section of the game in RPD with him, I have never felt more like tense playing a game. I was like, I gotta get back to the operations room, and it's just all you hear is like, because he's always following you.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, he only leaves you alone for like 2 little rooms. So I think the sound design is really great. The engine's great. I haven't had any sort of issues. I think it looks, like I said, I think it looks really good. Resident Evil 2 is a favorite of mine in the series because I feel like it's kind of where the characters get to shine a little bit more. In the first game, even in the first game's remake, which is quite old at this point, but in the first game's remake, the characters, the voice acting, the animations, they still weren't really that good.
Yeah.
Very clunky, very sort of camp, so to speak. So I think having this remake to really sort of explore more characters like Leon, obviously. Everybody loves Leon. Claire,
Everybody.
Sherry. I mean, you get a better scope of like the Resident Evil universe, which is I think why a lot of people are very fond of this game. I also think, like we were talking about, the setting of it is so iconic that it's like, you get in to the police station and you're like, okay, I'm here. So one of my favorites. I enjoy Resident Evil. I enjoyed the first one. I enjoyed the remake, but it can be a little bit hard to be invested because it's just so like, it's so camp. And of course I love Jill, but it's like Jill's not like barely a character in that game. She doesn't really become a character until 3. Same with Chris, who doesn't really become a character until like 5.
I feel like the Chris Redfield that we know is like, I mean, he was only in 1 and 5, right? Before.
Yeah.
I'm saying he wasn't in 2, 3, or 4.
Correct.
So like, the Chris Redfield we know only exists as like the Resident Evil 5 version.
He's like macho man, like, hey, it's me, Chris. I'm gonna punch this boulder.
I do think it's interesting that like, because 2 is the premiere of Leon, and Leon is inarguably the most iconic protagonist of Resident Evil. I feel like there's arguments to be made that Resident Evil 2 was like the actual start of the seat of the franchise, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like Resident Evil 1 was the origin of the ideas behind it, and Resident Evil 2 was the origin of like what it was to become. Because even on PlayStation 1, it was also like, we talked last week about how Resident Evil 1 had those really hokey live action cutscenes.
Yes.
Resident Evil 2 had actual animated cutscenes. So like you were seeing the character you were playing as they were, and it was the same character through the cutscenes and through the gameplay. And I feel like for that reason, that's kind of like where Resident Evil became itself. And the remake is, go ahead.
I was just going to say I agree. I feel like with the first game, it's like, it could be like an arcade game, you know what I mean? Whereas the second game really feels like the beginning of the stories of these characters because it's like a through line, you see Leon in 2, 4, 6. You see Chris.
Who do we appreciate? Sorry.
You see Chris in 5, 6. Well, I won't say too much more, but you see him. I mean, you see the beginnings of these characters where they go. You see Jill in 3 and 5, and Claire in 3 and 6, and
I don't think Resident Evil 2 Remake is my favorite Resident Evil game for sure. I think it is the best designed. They took what was good about the original and really fleshed it out in the perfect way. The visuals, the audio are all perfect. That audio design, like you said, is really incredible. Like the way you can hear like distance, the way things sound, muffled in certain circumstances when they need to be, really loud and scary in others. The puzzle design, the layout is the best map design of like a contained game that I've played probably in my life. Like I said, because like it's a big location. That police department is huge. If you put me in it right now, I could walk through, I could get anywhere. And that's insane to me because that's like I played the game for like 12 to 15 hours. That's not that long in retrospect, but I can still recount how to get around this police station, and that's profound to me. That is truly incredible. And I really think that if you're maybe outside the Resident Evil series, or maybe you've only played like Village or something like that, you owe it to yourself to play Resident Evil 2 Remake. It is not just arguably the best Resident Evil game, it is one of the best games I've ever played, and I love it. I haven't played it in a couple of years, so I don't have as many as fresh impressions as Kelly, but I really, really think it's special. And I think it's what pushed me from like casual Resident Evil fan to like adorer of the series.
Yeah.
Because before 2 Remake, I think I had played 5 and 7, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then I played 2, and then I was like, I guess I'm playing the whole series now, you know?
Yeah.
So
Definitely. I look forward to playing the 3rd. Well, I've kind of played it a little bit, but I look forward to... Sorry. I look forward to playing the 3rd and talking about Jill and that other guy in it.
Carlos?
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about Carlos too much. I
Why
won't.
do you like Carlos more than Leon?
I'll be good, okay? I will.
No, you can talk about Carlos as much as you want, just next week when we're talking about him.
Right. If you had to choose a favorite Resident Evil character, who would it be?
Leon. But probably Resident Evil 2 Leon.
Really?
Like, yeah, I like young and frisky Leon. I think he's adorable.
Frisky?
Like young and like, not frisky, what's the word? Like zesty. No, not
Zesty?
zesty. Like he's like excited.
Yeah.
Even
I
though
would
he's
say-
like living through this horrible circumstance.
I would say my favorite character is Jill.
Yeah,
Valentine.
Jill's up there. I kind of love, like, I love, if it's not Leon, it's probably like a tie between Claire, Jill, probably Claire and Jill. Yeah.
I love Sheva, but they put my girl in a locker and they will not let her out.
That's so common in Resident Evil. Like,
know.
I was thinking about it the other day
Carlos?
because I was thinking about Carlos, and I looked up what other games he was in, and he's in like, the last game he was in was Umbrella Chronicles, which was like a shoot 'em up on Wii.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then like Resident Evil 6 was like an all-star show.
Yeah.
But
no Carlos. It's fine.
no, and like especially with the series being like essentially rebooted, I don't know if we'll ever see some of these characters again. Although that Resident Evil Village DLC is coming up soon. And I have a feeling that's going to be like, because it's the end of the quote-unquote Winters saga, I have a feeling that like a certain Mr. Kennedy and maybe even a Mrs. Valentine will make an appearance because they're also moving back to third person.
Yeah.
And I think if they did like a 6 sort of game where it was like not stupid action, it was like a more toned down, kind of like the 2 remake, or even kind of like the 3 remake. If they did something like that as an all-star show of like the old cast older, years later, oh my gosh, I'm just fantasizing here. Wouldn't that be incredible if Resident Evil like not, or it's called Resident Evil 8, like actually 8.
It would be so incredible to see Carlos again.
Well, I was talking more about like the like leads.
I have selective hearing, so.
Also, Carlos, like, I didn't know how different he looked because like my experience with the original 3rd was pretty limited. I only played a little bit of the PS1 game. I didn't realize because I just thought he was the big frizzy boy forever. And then I looked back and I was like, oh, he used to look like off-brand Leon.
Yeah.
With like the part was in the middle instead of on the side. That was the only difference.
Yeah, they really
Fixed him up.
improved a lot.
But yeah, we'll talk more Resident Evil next week. I am loving Kellie's retrospective. I think it's a fun little activity. I wish more series are like month fitting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I wish there was like a series of Christmas themed games that we could do through all of December.
We could do like in the spring we could do like a bunch of farming games, like Stardew Valley, and there's a new farming game that I want to play.
Which one? One of the 12 from the Nintendo Direct?
I want to play Coral Island, which is actually only in early access right now, so but it's also like $20. So I'm kind of waiting.
Well, you heard it here first. This spring we're doing a farming game is it a retrospective if it's
just like a
we're
fun
just gonna do
journey.
Farm Fest. We're gonna call it Farm Fest. I'm gonna play Stardew, I promise.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're also doing that video game company thing where spring could mean whenever we want.
Right. Could be
spring
February,
could mean like
could be May.
Yeah, could be September.
It's spring somewhere. It's spring in Australia.
Anyway, everybody, we appreciate your time. We love you. We look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew.
Bye.